Short division and long division. It has been noticed that students are more comfortable with short division method of dividing numbers. But in some cases, particularly when it comes to converting from fractions to decimal, the best to use is long division. As much as you know short division, you also need to know long division so you can be better. Let's start with the short division. For those that might still struggle with the short division, these are multiples of 5 and we're dividing these two numbers by 5. We have the first one as 235 divided by 5 using short division first. 5 can't go in 2. 2 is smaller than 5. 2 can't go, so we'll double it and make it 2 and 3. That's 23. 5 can't go directly in 23, so we look for that number in which 5 can divide. We look for that number closest to this in the multiple of 5 on the timetable of 5. So we have it as 20. 20 is the closest, the next is 25. 25 is bigger. We take 20. Then 4 times 5 is 20. Our result is 4. We take 4. Out of this 23, 20 was used. We are left with 3. That's 23 minus 20 will give you 3. The 3, we take it and add it to this 5. So we join together, it becomes 35. Now we have 35. Next, we look for a multiple of 5 that is exactly 35 or close to 35. And we have it as 7. 7 times 5 is 35. Since 7 times 5 is 35, so we write 7 here. Our final answer is 47. For the long division method, which seems a little bit more complex, it's actually the same thing, but you just have to solve down. We have it as 235 divided by 5. Like done before, we start with 5 in 2. 2 is smaller than 5, so we can't use it. We'll go to 23. Join the 2 together at 23. 5 in 23, the closest number is 4, because the next is 25, which is bigger. So it's 5 times 4, that is 20. You write your 4 here, then you have the result 5 times 4, 20 below, then you subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3, then 2 minus 2 is dot, you leave it as dot. 5 in 3, 3 is smaller than 5, you still have a 5 here, so you drop down this 5. That's 35. 5 in 35, you go to your timetable, you either find 35 or the closest number to 35. But you see that 5 times 7 is 35, so we take this. 5 times 7 is 35. You put your 35 below the 35, then you subtract. That 5 times 7, the result of multiplying 7 by 5, you write it here and you subtract. 5 minus 5 is dot, that's 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. So we still have our answer as 47 either way. Next question is divide 234 by 5. Using short division, we have it like this. 2, 3, 4, then your 5 outside. 5 can't divide 2 because 2 is smaller than 5. So we join them together as 23. That's 5 in 23. 5 in 23, the closest number is 4. That's 5 times 4, that's 20. You write your 4. This 23 that you used minus 20, you get 3. So you put the 3 here, that's 34. Then 5 in 34, 5 can't go directly in 34. The closest is 30 because the next is 35, which is bigger than 34. So 5 in 34 is 30, that's 6. So you write your 6 here. Then you'll be left with 34 minus 30, that's 4. So we have 4 left. And since 4 is smaller than 5 and it can't be joined to any of the digits because this is the end of the digits, we have it as 46 remainder 4 as our final answer. For long division, we have it this way. 2, 3, 4 divided by 5. Long division shows you every step you take, unlike the short method where you have to do some things outside, like in this case where you had to subtract 30 from 34. In long division, you have to do everything inside what you're doing. So you have 5 in 2, 2 is smaller, so you join it 23. 5 in 23, the closest is 20 because higher than that is 25, so you can't use 5 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20, you write your 4 here, you write 20 here. You subtract. 23 minus 20, you start from the back. 3 minus 0 is 3. 2 minus 2 is 0, you put your dot. When you're doing division, you use dot. 5 in 3, 3 is smaller than 5. You can't use 3 in 5, you have to drag down this 4. You drag down 4, it's now 34. 5 in 34, the closest is 5 times 6, that's 30. The next is 35, which is bigger. You write your 6 here, then 6 times 5 or 5 times 6 is 30. Then you subtract. That's 30 you're writing here, subtracting from this 34. You go from the back. 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 3 is 0, so you put your dot. 5 can't go in 4 and there's nothing to drag down. So your answer is 46 remainder 4 using long division. Same answer using two different techniques. For the last question, which is 510, that's 510 divided by 5. I would rather we use long division first so we can understand a certain thing. We have it as 510 divided by 5. We go first, this first digit, which is 5. 5 can go in 5. Then 5 in 5 is 1. So you write 1 here. 5. So you subtract. You take what you multiply to get the value of this, or the closest to the value of this, you write it on top. Then you multiply the two of them and write it below. Then subtract the two of them. So we have 5 minus 5 is dots. You drag down 1. Since you have dot, 5 can go in dot. So you drag down 1. 5 in 1. Since 1 is smaller than 5, you can't use 5 to divide 1. You have a second value here, you drag it down. You drag it down and you have 10. Note, since you have dragged two numbers at the same time, on the same level, you have to add 0 here first. Every time you drag down two numbers at the same time, you have to add 0. If you are dragging down a third number, you have to add another 0. Even if this were 2 and you drag down 2 here, not minding that this is 0, provided you drag down two numbers to the same level to divide, you have to add a 0 to the top. You have it as 5 in 10. 10 divided by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2, because 2 times 5 is 10. On timetable, you have 10 at 2. So you write your 2 here. Then the result of 2 times 5, which is 10, you write it here. Then you put your minus sign. You subtract these two. 10 minus 10 is 0. So you can say 0 minus 0 is dot. 1 minus 1 is dot. Final answer is 102 using long division. What if you are using short division? Let's do this question with short division. We have 510 divided by 5. So we go 5 in 5, 1. 5 can go in 5. 5 in 1, it can go. Some people just join the 5 in 10 and they write 5 in 10 is 2, they write 12. No, it's not 12. If you multiply 12 by 5, you get 60. Because when you divide a number by another number, the result, when you multiply them together, you're supposed to get the initial number at the top here on this side. So it's not 12. Since 5 cannot go in the first number only after you've done the first division, any division after, maybe the third or the fourth or the fifth, if that value outside cannot go in the first one and you're joining two numbers together, you have to add a 0 here first. So you now join it as 10. You're not taking 1 again, you take the 10. So 5 in 10 is 2. You have it as 102. Try multiplying 102 times 5. 102 times 5 is 510. So you see 102 times 5 is 510. If you have just written 12 times 5 is 60, you'd have gotten it wrong. So you should note this. This is very important, particularly when you are not allowed to use a calculator. This is one of the kind of trickish questions you get in an exam, so you have to be very careful. That's why this particular question was added to the questions under short division and long division.